All right, you guys. So my guest today has another amazing, inspiring story. So regardless if you're a brand new agent, you've been in the business for a while, I think you're going to get a lot out of today's interview because my guest went from being a brand new agent to his first full year doing over $3 million in volume to where he's at today in 2021, already surpassing that. So with me today, I've got Jade Rowe. Jade, welcome to the show, my friend. It's been a long time coming.
Thanks, Brandon. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, dude. So I'm excited to kind of walk people through your journey in real estate. So let's jump right into it. What market are you in, and give us the time frame exactly how long you've been in the business?
Yeah, so I am 25 years old. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota, born and raised in Minnesota. This is my third year in real estate. I started basically in the beginning of 2019, just doing leasing and property management. So I actually didn't do sales my first year, basically, or 9-10 months. And then I did sales all of 2020. And then obviously 5 months into 2021, been doing just strictly buy and sell.
I love it. I love it. So 25, young guy, got a great career ahead of you. So let's kind of go back really quick. I want to see what you can remember from when you first got started in 2019, because there's a lot of learnings here for a lot of new agents, because I think a lot of people get out of the industry every year, and there's a lot of new people that enter into the industry that are very curious. What does it take to succeed? What works? What doesn't? If you remember back, you've got all these voices coming at you saying, do this, do that, all kinds of shiny objects, all kinds of distractions.
Yeah.
If you can remember back, getting into the industry, you're probably 22, 23 years old. Something got you excited. You got into the business. What was maybe some of the early ahas where you were like, wow, I had no idea that the real estate business was actually like this. I thought it was like this. You remember any of those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I got into real estate because my parents are real estate investors and things like that. But leasing and property management, I'll be straight up, like, it was a grind. I didn't make much money. I learned a ton in the rental business. I didn't really understand what I was doing. I didn't understand, like, I had leads coming my way, but I didn't understand, like, I guess the quality versus quantity versus just like the real estate sales business is all about just generating leads. And then when I actually started in sales, I definitely like felt it, where it was like, holy crap, there's a ton of agents out there. How am I going to do this? Like, every single person I talk to seems like they have a real estate agent. And then I'm getting, these emails and phone calls and other different coaches and things like that to try to sell me on where to get leads. And it finally just, really the big aha moment was, I mean, I'm in the business of, yes, selling homes 100%, but it's really, I'm in the business of generating leads. Like, if you don't have leads, you're dead. And I guess, I didn't fully understand that, like, I work at Remax Results, and they don't send us, I don't get a lead from them ever. Maybe I'll get something in my email once in a while from them, but it's not like I just sit there and they send me the leads. And I'm also on a team, and our team is phenomenal, but I would just say that, some of the teams out there, sometimes you don't get leads and sometimes you do. But what I'm blessed with is my team always said that, hey, we're going to teach you how to actually build a business. I'm not going to just give you leads. And that was super important to me, thinking back when I interviewed with two different brokerages. One was like, I'll give you all these leads. And then one of my really good friends, who's the leader of this team, is like, Jade, that's awesome that they'll give you leads, but what if his business starts to dry up? Now he's not going to give you those leads anymore. I'm actually going to teach you how to actually build your business so it's sustainable, and that you can go fish and find leads and business on your own. And then you're not having to rely on me or the other team leader to send you stuff.
Love it, dude. So hold on. This was so beautifully said. You said, and I love this, and it doesn't matter if you're a Gary Keller or a Keller Williams person, but Gary said in his book, yes, we have a license to sell real estate, but we are, make no mistake about it, in the lead generation business, period, end of story. And if you don't understand that, you should not get into this business. And if you're in this business and you can't accept it, you need to get out as fast as you possibly can, because I think for a lot of people getting in the industry, especially younger people, they have no concept, Jade, of what that means. So if you have a friend who's 23, 24, you grew up with them, and they're asking you about getting into real estate, do you find that it's hard to kind of shoot them straight, because it's almost like they don't understand the pain that you go through? They don't understand how hard it is. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I have a tough time sometimes. Like, man, It's not what you see on TV, man. It's not
No.
sexy. Real estate's like a terrible, hard, extremely difficult business. And nobody wants to hear that when they're like, oh, I want to get into real estate. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, so it's funny because all the guys on my team, we have a team of about 7 agents or maybe like 10 or something like that. But we all joke that like we hate talking about our work because
Right.
actually we actually love it so much. Like we're blessed to just have an awesome team and we're all doing
Yeah,
well and just it's super awesome. But everyone that talks to us only sees kind of our social media stuff
that's right.
about sold posts, closed posts, this stuff, awards, whatnot. And they don't see us. They don't see us, working the weekends, doing all these different showings, these appointments, making these phone calls, getting rejection, getting people that string you along for 8 months and say, oh, sorry, my buddy's going to be my agent now, or say, oh, sorry, like my parents are going to sell their home and I'm going to buy that home, and or someone who just is super mean to you. Like they just don't see that stuff. They only see like the awesome stuff. And there's plenty of amazing things as well as business. I mean, it's awesome when you actually get to help a first-time home buyer or a seller sell their home. Like that's super rewarding. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just seeing the social media stuff about solds and closings, and they don't see all of the kind of the grind. And I would just say, yeah, like I definitely, when I got into the industry, had to make sacrifices, with just financial sacrifices, lifestyle sacrifices, and kind of a mentality of like, this is what I love to do, and I'm gonna have to do whatever it takes to get it done, and have faith that whatever activity I do will lead to, you know, kind of some production, and that's what's kind of starting to pay off now.
Yeah, it's great. And we're gonna unpack that entire thing. And so to further that point, do you think the industry, honestly, do you think the industry is doing a good job setting expectations for brand new agents and what it's really like? Or do you feel like brokers and boards of realtors and memberships are just trying to get as many people in as possible, knowing that only a few percent are going to actually make it?
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. I just think that, there is, when I went through my real estate licensing course, you learn how to write a PA, but you really don't. I mean, I had to have my team member lead, like show me how to rewrite it when I actually got to writing a PA. So I never had, you just don't get taught that. You don't get taught how to generate business. Like, how do
That's
I go
right.
find business now? You just get taught, like, here's the rules, what you have to follow, and here's how to fill out this paperwork. But I can't do any of that if I don't have anybody to help buy or sell a home.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just, I don't know. And I feel like I'm at a big brokerage, so I don't really talk to my broker a lot. But if you're interviewing small brokerages and with, you actually have more contact with your broker, I definitely would say, you want to go talk to them about like, how do I do this? Like, how do I find a buyer? How do I find a seller?
And so that's a great point. What I think people need to take from this, Jade, is I think people ask the question, how do I do this, with the assumption of being the practitioner. How do I be a real estate agent? They're asking the wrong question. They need to ask, how do I generate leads? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you need to. I ask them, like, not interview them about I mean, obviously culture, things like that matter, but like, what sort of like lead gens do you have, or like, how are you going to teach me to find leads? Because that
That's
was what
right.
was awesome about my team. Is like they laid out like literally these are the ways that you can find business and do lead generation. You can pick any which of these to do. And none of us pay for any leads. We don't pay a single dime. We're not like that. We all do our separate. We all have one thing that we do really well, which is social media, which we can get into. But all the other stuff, it's like these are our different pillars. You do any one of those, you will get business. You just have to literally put in the time and work.
Yeah. And so I think, just to clarify, we'll move on to something else. I want your opinion on this. When most brokerages say, hey, we've got training, what they're talking about is how to be a practitioner, how to fill
Yep.
out agreements, how to fill out contracts. What they don't mean is how to generate money. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And I would say, like, our brokerage does have really good training, and they do have some lead generation training, but it's also kind of just like regular corporate training where it's like, it's good,
Yeah.
but it's not like nitty gritty stuff of like how to actually execute it.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so let's talk about lead generation, and specifically social media, because this is a topic that I think that is highly debatable. And here's what I want to talk about. There's two approaches to generating business. You can go out there, play offense, and be in control and go get it, or you can take a passive approach and do some things and wait for business to come in.
Mm-hmm.
There's two stances here. There's an approach of like being prospecting based, and then there's the marketing based.
Mm-hmm.
And I am under the belief that if an agent's really going to win in this business, that they have to be prospecting based first. Then they put in social media content later to supplement their business. But I think too many agents, Jade, are trying to avoid having conversations, making calls, doing door knocking, sending direct messages on Instagram, reaching out proactively. And they're trying to take the path of least resistance, hoping people will reach out to them. What's your opinion?
I would agree with that. I think, my business, when I started, I was prospecting, but I was prospecting through the phone, and I was prospecting through kind of open houses, things like that, doing outbound stuff, but also really kind of just waiting and seeing like what's going to happen here. And the passive marketing does work, and 100% does tie into everything, but you can't rely on that. And I also think we always remind ourselves in the team that like we have a really good heart of like, if one of our really, really good friends or somebody like, buys a house or sells a home through someone else, like for us, it doesn't crush us, because it's like, oh, why didn't they reach out to us? No, like I know I can pick up that phone right there and find someone who wants to probably sell
That's right.
in the next week. So it doesn't even matter to me. And I think to be successful in this business, you kind of have to like let that stuff wash over you when something like that happens. So I would agree that like I started kind of on that passive approach of business will come to me. I do this stuff. I do the marketing. It'll come, which it will, but it will come slower than maybe just going right to phone calls and prospecting and then putting that on top of it and kind of putting the fuel on the fire.
That's right. It's like this compounding effect. But I think the takeaway here, at least my position and how I coach an agent, is telling them the truth that, listen, you're going to have to put yourself into some pain. You're going to have to do some really, really difficult work every single day. You're going to have to pay the price in the beginning before you can start moving on to sexier stuff and doing events and doing all the fun stuff that you see. You're going to have to build a nice pipeline. So let's talk about what we were just talking about off air. Let's talk about when you first got started prospecting. You said you were making 5 or 10 contacts a day, and then you got up to 40 contacts a day, which sometimes could take 3-4 hours a day. Let's talk about the difference there, and then what results that led you to.
Yeah, I mean, I met you like last year, 2020, halfway through 2020, when COVID shut everything down. It was crazy, and I started, doing 100%, doing the prospecting, cold calling, those sorts of things, different pillars, and was just scared about it, like just nervous for whatever reason. You're just scared and nervous. And I was probably only making 5, maybe 10 contacts, but mostly probably 5 to 6, just phone calls a day, outbound calls, maybe get up a couple more. And these weren't follow-up calls. These were strictly just outbound new calls. And then saw a little bit of success, but kind of got, just like, this isn't really working, whatever. Later on in 2020, when I started to kind of see my business slow down a little bit, I hopped back on the phone and bumped it up a little bit, not a ton, like 20, 15, 20 contacts probably. And then it kind of bumped back up, got a couple more tractions, listings, and opportunities. But then this year, I was kind of telling you kind of offline, I was feeling really burnt out with a couple buyers that I was run around with, and didn't have much going on besides that. And it made me again realize like that stuff will come 100%, but I just need to like focus on making phone calls and prospecting and making the contacts. And I was like, none of this 10, 5 stuff anymore, 15, 20 even. Like I need to double it. Like I need to make 50 to 40 to 50 contacts a day. And I did that I made about 40 to 50 contacts for probably a week and a half, not even that much time, and took 3 listings, like boom. I had a couple other opportunities because of that. So, and I tracked my numbers. I really try to track my numbers, and that yielded about 86 contacts. After all that work, all the follow-up, I don't track. I mean, I do track follow-up, but I just track kind of new contacts.
Yeah.
And I put them into a pipeline or a follow-up system, then follow-up calls. The follow-up calls, I don't really count those for me personally. I just count new contacts. So all the new contacts, it was 86 contacts for me to get 1 listing.
So unbelievable. You deserve a round of applause, because here's the thing. the other truth, Jay, that I tell agents, an expectation when we first start working together, is I tell them it's going to take you on average 100 contacts to get one listing. You're at 86. As your skills grows, as your pipeline grows, as you start getting more referrals, that's going to go way, 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 way down. And the reality is, yeah, I mean, if you really want to go out there and be in control and start taking listings, you got to start doing 30, 40, 50 contacts a day. That's going to put you in a position to have a listing opportunity every week. Mm-hmm. And so if you can continue that pace, I think really, really good things will happen. And the other thing, if you're only doing 5 or 10 contacts, it takes, not only is it going to take a lot longer, but you're not running into the right prospects enough times where you start to actually, believe it or not, get more burnt out doing less contacts because you're not finding as many wins. Would you agree?
And 100%, I feel like too, there's a part of me where I want to make more contacts and I want to have more. I feel like there's definitely a quality piece, but there's definitely a quantity piece where it's like, if one slips through the crack, that's okay. You know what I mean? Because
that's right.
I want to find the ones that come easy almost. I don't want to find the ones that I have to call 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Like the ones that I took, it was 1 or 2 calls. Maybe I battled for one, but the other ones were like pretty easy. A couple phone calls, meeting appointment, done deal, listing signed, sold in a weekend. You know, like I want to find more of those. And the ones that I can't get a hold of, you know, I'm calling at different times a day. Like I'll go find someone that'll actually call me back, you know?
That's right. So that's what's so interesting is I want to get your opinion on this. When I coach a new agent, or not a new agent, when I'm new to coaching an agent, their amount of contacts is so low. So this is where I give them the advice that they cannot be picky and choosy with their appointments. They have to go on a bunch of appointments. I don't care about the quality. I just want the quantity of appointments, preview appointments, to be high, because their contacts and their skills, Jade, are so low. Mm-hmm. Then what happens over time, it's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. The opposite happens. The skills increase, the contacts increase. Now you can get more picky and choosy on going to high quality appointments using almost a scalpel where you know on the first contact whether you have a listing opportunity or not, because you're a better listener now. You have higher skills. You have more confidence. Do you think you could have bypassed that and just got right to where you are now? Or do you think it was a learning process?
No, I would 100% agree that it was a learning process, because when I first kind of did your system and was learning your approach to everything, I mean, I was just going on appointments just to get in front of sellers, like just to get in front of sellers and talk to them and understand where they're at and kind of have that sales presentation in front of them and just be a better communicator in front of them. Because now when I go on something like that, I mean, I've had way more previews and way more like conversations face to face with sellers. I'm not nervous. I mean, still a little bit nervousness, but like
a little bit.
I'm not near as nervous as I was going into those first appointments, whether they were listing appointments or just kind of your approach to preview appointments. It was still a seller that wanted to sell their home, and I was talking to them about the sales process and how to best sell their home.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna. This is coming from, this is being very real and authentic and being honest. Your confidence right now versus when I met you a year ago, it is light years from where you were. I'm not even kidding, dude. The amount of business maturity you have, the swag you have, the confidence you have, you even have longer hair now, looking great. But seriously, man, your confidence is just so much higher, and you only got that way. The point is this: I'm not just trying to pump your tires, although I'm being serious. The point is you couldn't bypass this. And so many agents want to skip. I don't want to do the hard work. I don't want to pay the price. I just want to get to where Jade's at. Do you think there's any way that someone can do that, or do they have to pay the price?
I think you have to pay the price. Every guy on my team who's a couple years ahead of me, doing more business than me, they all instilled that, like, you got to grind and pay the price.
That's it.
Like, there will be tons of text messages in our group saying, hey guys, just to encourage you, like, this happened, yada, yada, yada. But again, this doesn't happen if you don't like make the calls or, you know, pay the price or stay in the game and keep working, keep making relationships, keep grinding. This stuff gets easier and easier over time, but you have to stay in the pocket and keep working.
So true, man. There is no shortcuts, whether it's health and fitness, relationships, business, sales. There are zero shortcuts. And it just makes me very frustrated that there are marketers out there still trying to sell people, and realtors specifically, on shortcuts. So, what does your average day look like today? Like, can you walk us through what maybe an average day, average week looks like for you?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, I don't have the best schedule yet. I'm still working on that. But
Sure.
an ideal schedule, or what I've been trying to hit is, I'll get up in the morning, probably around 6, and work out from 6:30 to 7:30. Come back home, make breakfast, whatever, and I'm trying to be in the office by 9:30. And then I'm calling for, if I'm in the office, I'm calling from 9 till maybe 11:30, or 9 till 11, 9 till noon if I'm having a really good day or something and don't have a ton going on. Or I'm calling from 10 till 11, 10 till noon. And try to do that 3 days a week right now. And then leave the other mornings for catch up, whatnot. And then my afternoons, usually I'll have some lunch break. And then afternoons are either, admin stuff, paperwork stuff, showings for buyers, appointments for sellers. Or I've also had, some more days when I've gotten back on the phone from 4 to 6, or we've had our teams had pizza parties where we'll come in and call from 6 to 8 or something like that. And I tell you what, if I could choose, it's hard for an agent to do this, especially me. If I had to choose it, I think I'd probably want to prospect in the afternoon because I make so many more contacts
Yeah.
in a shorter amount of time. But I just know that with scheduling and things like that and how our days get pulled in every different direction, it's just not possible all the time. So that's what I try to do in the morning. But if I had to choose, anytime in the evening from 6 to 8, and people will say oh, aren't they going to get mad at you since you're calling in the evening? I haven't had that many people get mad at me. If they're gonna get mad at me, they're gonna get mad at me either way. So
Yeah.
calling at night, everyone's back at home from work and they're on the TV or they're eating dinner or whatever, making dinner, and they'll pick up their phone.
Yeah, it's so true. And that's why we try to get an agent to have at least one late night session per week, because the contact rates are probably triple than what they are in the morning. But here's the interesting thing. You're the second agent that I interviewed this week, Jade, that almost said the exact same thing. So you already, well, close. You're about to break 6 figures already in 2021. And we just got through the first quarter that has a very similar schedule. And I think here's what's happening is there's a lot to be said for, there was this society for a long time, and you had big influencers like Gary Vee and all these people talk about the grind and the hustle and the grind and the hustle. Those people are starting to back off of that a little bit. And I think what ends up happening is when you don't have as much rigidity or not so much rigidness in your schedule, I think you do better work. And you just said the same thing somebody else did that just broke 6 figures in their first quarter of this year, which is their biggest income so far. They're like, dude, I'm not crazy about the morning. I know that I could be more consistent if I just do what's natural for me instead of trying to fight that human biology. So it's just very, very interesting that that's what's happening. And so it sounds like that's kind of what's happening with you too, is not beating yourself up to be so rigid. It's like, I'm going to build this business around my life, not the other way around.
No, I would agree with that. I think, looking back at before I got into real estate, kind of was starting real estate, it was all about that hustle and grind and
Right.
that kind of hoorah. And now it's yeah, you're going to work hard, but I got to give myself grace and I got to make time for my friends and my family and my girlfriend and those sorts of things. And, these sorts of things need to happen. But I'll be the first to say I sleep in sometimes and work later that night and have a Saturday where I just don't do an open house. I'm not really doing any open houses anymore. And I don't say I'm not going to work until 1 or 2 that day because I need to recharge and refuel, and that's okay. I'm still working really hard and my business is growing. So I need to be okay with that. And like I said, just stay in the pocket and it's going to get easier and get bigger and bigger every single year.
Yeah, that's deep, because when I really start to analyze that in my brain right now, there's a lot of human psychology behind why that's probably working for guys like you. Because when you're doing your thing and having some flexible time in your schedule, the time that you are working, you've got to tell yourself, I got to focus right here and make the most of it. So there's a lot of science behind that. And that's probably why you're able to make 40 contacts in a day for 3 days in a row, because this is all I got. And so I forget exactly what the study is called, but like when somebody goes on vacation, they can get so much done. And so you're the second agent who essentially said the exact same thing, because you know you're only prospecting. Are you doing Monday through Wednesday?
Yeah.
Because you only got those 3 days. Sounds like you're trying to make the most of the time you are in lead generation. Is that right?
Yeah, and absolutely, and I feel even if I have the worst week, I don't like it's just a horrible 3 days or a horrible day. Like to me, I'm okay with that because like I might have the next week awesome 3 days and
That's
or
true.
a phenomenal day, but like you're gonna have those bad days where like this was worthless. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I feel so much more better. I could go if I don't have a single appointment, I could go golf or whatever the
Yeah.
rest of the afternoon and feel totally good. Like I just put in 3 hours or 2 hours of like good grinding work that's going to build my business and or made my skills better and or made me feel more confident. Like 100% I can go give myself that time with family or myself or friends
Without feeling any guilt, because
without feeling any guilt. Yeah,
that's
100%.
right, because you did the work. All right. So let's move on. What lead sources are you working right now that you're finding the most success with in this crazy seller's market?
For me, it's absentees.
Love it.
100%
It's your favorite. Do you
absentees.
remember I told you that? I said your favorite
Yeah.
lead source is going to be absentees. You won't even want to call a FISBO.
Yeah. No, I actually don't really call physicals anymore, but I do
Yep.
call absentees a lot. Duplexes, 2 to 4 units, or single family rentals. The next one would be circle prospecting, just sold, just listed. With that stuff, it's more or less just getting them in the pipeline and building a brand around them and putting them on drip campaigns. And then I'm kind of starting to, go into expireds maybe a little bit, but I haven't mastered that yet. But I feel super comfortable on the phone with absentees, and I feel super comfortable on the phone with, just listed, just sold calls. And then now I'm maybe thinking about going into some expireds, old expireds and new expireds.
Good for
But
you, man.
absentees for me has been 100% like the easiest, and there's not usually any much competition, and
That's right.
there's way less emotional attachment. It's just about the
Yep.
numbers, and there's a million different reasons why someone might want to sell a rental property. So, and then like, I mean, I've built relationships where like I sell one and now that lady, I have this client who's wanting to buy one from me, like I sold the rental property because there were some restrictions and now she wants to buy another one.
I
Well,
love
she's
it.
using me. So,
Now, so for me, my wife and I have been investing in real estate for a long time. You come from a background of real estate investing. Do you find that maybe, I don't know if you think about this or not, do you find that you can have easier conversations with absentee owners because you can kind of speak their language? Are you finding it, and their
no,
pain points better?
100%.
Yeah.
Yep, 100%. I can ask them about the rent and ask them about their tenants, how they're managing, how they're doing with this. I mean, it's a way easier conversation. And I'm like, I can build credibility and say like, I have or owned this, and or my family owns this. So like, I know not everyone has that, but I'm just blessed that I do have that. And they're like, oh, okay, so you do understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, like I'm not just an agent looking for something to sell. Like I absolutely am, but also like I also want to know like, how do you even start your real estate business? How many units do you have? Like why do you want to sell and why do you want to buy? What do you think of
Makes
the
total
market?
sense, dude. That's why that's your niche. And you know how they say God works in mysterious ways?
Yeah.
Dude, you need to rewind this interview. At the beginning, you talked about how bad working with leases and rentals were in the beginning, but how much you learned. Look at how
Mm-hmm.
much that served you now as your number one listing lead source. It is
Yep.
incredible, dude. I just
Yep.
got
100%.
goosebumps.
100%.
Coming full circle. It's like
100%.
without doing that, you wouldn't be where you are today. And it's incredible. And the absentee owner business model is so beautiful because it's almost like being in the car business. I think you probably heard me talk about that before. You've got all these people with leases expiring on these properties. And so you got a massive seller lead database that just keeps turning over month after month after
Yep.
month. And so that's really
And
cool.
those calls are, they're kind of like just listed, just sold calls.
Easy.
And you also just, if they had a really good conversation, they're not ready to sell right now, like you stay in touch with them. Like you get their contact info, you stay in touch with them. And then like, they probably will reach out when they're ready to sell.
That's right. That's right. Cool, man. This has been amazing. Let me ask you, what piece of advice would you give maybe yourself if you started this business all over again? Because this advice will help new realtors watching this. What would you tell Jade Rowe 3 years ago? What advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, I think I would give myself, I would tell myself that I need to call more. I just need to prospect more and call more and be okay with the pain and not get so not overthink it. Like, should I call FISBO? Should I call expired? Should I circle prospects? Should I call absentees? Like, who should I call? I should just pick up the phone and call people and talk to people. And I've learned, like, everyone's different, but like for me, I feel like I was better on the phone sometimes, initially, than maybe, like, I did a lot of open houses my first year. And if I could have rewinded, I think I would have not done as many open houses and done more on the phone. Mainly because, I'll be straightforward, I do look younger, especially before I had the long hair. I had short hair and I looked
Yeah.
super young. And, what does it matter if it's someone that's my age or a little bit older? They come in, they see a super young looking realtor. Like, yeah, they're probably going to be a little bit like, oh, who is this person? They know what they're doing. But like on the phone, they don't know what I look like. And I can sound 100% know what I'm doing, professional, like, holy crap. And then they meet me and then they're like, oh, okay, well, this guy's young, knows what he's talking about. It makes more sense. So I would go back and maybe not do as many or more open houses and call more, and just call and just call. And I think
Not overcomplicate it, right? Just
not
keep it
overcomplicate. Yeah.
Yeah, keep it simple. And just, I think the other thing, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think the other thing that you would probably want to say is like detaching from the outcome and not being worried about, failing in the beginning, because that's what's necessary. The learning is actually in the doing. You have to go through the pain. You have to pay the price in the beginning in order to build the confidence. You can't get around it.
And I was definitely overthinking, like, the contact part and the follow-up part. And does this count as a contact? Does this not count as a contact? I mean, now it's like, hey, this is Jay calling with the property you got on, click. That's a contact. They knew it was about your property. It was like, it's that. It doesn't matter, black and white. Rather than why they didn't really get to it. Like, should have I counted that? Did I do something wrong? I don't know. Now it's like, no, just move on. Like, let's hit 40 contacts. Someone will probably want to talk to me.
Yeah, it's not having creative avoidance, right? It's just doing the work and not worrying about the outcome. So, dude,
and
listen,
I would say the last piece of advice that
please,
this isn't like me, the last piece of advice for any sort of just agent in the business, a newer agent, is I feel like I've had a lot of success by just bringing energy to all of my conversations with a current client, with a potential client, with a new client, and also bringing energy in person. There's days where, like, I'm having a horrible day, but a client calls me and I take a second and then I answer the phone and I'm just very upbeat and positive and kind of encouraging. I think that goes just a long way with people on the phone and in person, of just showing that, like, you are happy, you are positive, and you're encouraging. Like, they're gonna really be attracted to that, rather than, hey, this is Jade, what's up? What do you need? Like that kind of stuff. Because I've also called other agents that kind of are like that. And I think, my clients really, I think, appreciate that, of just my positivity and energy and enthusiasm.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's great advice. I mean, enthusiasm, what I tell people is, if your best friend or your spouse saw you prospecting, making calls, they shouldn't even recognize you because of the enthusiasm and the passion you're bringing through, because it is so attractive over the phone, because people aren't used to it. It's a nice pattern interrupt. So, dude, you got a beautiful career ahead of you. I'm really excited for you, dude. I think a lot of people will be thankful that you've done this interview, because you will inspire people. And I'm sure you've watched other interviews on YouTube that you love too. So thank you so much for doing this. And maybe we'll do this again in a year from now.
Yeah. Thanks, Brendan. I appreciate it.
You got it, brother. Talk to you soon. All right.
See ya.
Take care.